Well, we knew we'd get there sooner or later. We welcome you into our Tuesday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. If you are checking us out on Facebook Live, you see that there is no dear Goon next to me. He is dealing with some ongoing dental health issues and painful issues at that. So the dear Goon not with us. Chris Bucanani is feverishly working to get us on the air. I'm not helping matters here with a little trouble getting our initial connection today, but all is well, and the dear Booch will join us in pretty short order here, and lots of different directions we can go today. Certainly the ongoing discussion that we like to have here with college athletics. Had a couple of, I thought, interesting discussions over the weekend about that and kind of what this may look like moving forward. Also, a quick note that I, right now, still determining a couple of things, but at the moment, I am leaning heavily toward we just won't have a show on Thursday. We're going to have a Bald Eagle area baseball game in the quarterfinals of the PIAA AA state playoffs, and Bald Eagle area will take on Monteto in a game that will get underway at 2:30 on Thursday afternoon. Just to make everybody's life a little easier, and it's not sure it's worth the hassle of the half hour to an hour that we might be able to get on. Not an hour, probably a half hour to 45 minutes that we potentially could do the show in the back end. I think, at least again right now, tentatively leaning toward we just won't have a show this coming Thursday, and then we'll be back in full force a week from today, or as close to full force as we can muster. Few things to talk about, and again, we'll get into much more here with Booch on the local front. Yeah, both Bald Eagle area baseball and Bald Eagle area softball advancing to quarterfinal action on Thursday here locally. Bellefonte's baseball team was eliminated from the Quad A tournament with a 3-0 loss to Indiana yesterday, so the Red Raiders season has come to an end with a record of 19-3. Of course, Bellefonte last year won the Quad A championship at Medler Field at Lebrano Park. Both Bellefonte and Bald Eagle area won titles a year ago. Bald Eagle area 3 wins away from repeating as state champions, and Bald Eagle area's softball team now also 3 wins away from a state championship here this season. Those are the only the Bald Eagle area teams are the only baseball or softball teams here from Center County still alive. Nearby, we have Central Mountains softball team and Hollidaysburg's baseball team still alive in postseason action as well. But again, in Center County, just the Bald Eagle area baseball and softball teams. Also, we do have the State College boys lacrosse team in PIAA state playoff action, first round action today, looking to advance to the quarterfinals on Saturday with a win. The Little Lions, again, are in action just a bit later here this afternoon. So good luck to all the remaining teams, Bald Eagle area baseball and softball and State College boys lacrosse here as we hit the stretch run for the spring sports season here on the high school front locally. Of course, the final day of school officially is tomorrow. Really, it's today. I get it as far as it goes. You're chalking up the day, but tomorrow, and truthfully, at least it appears in talking with some of the kiddos from the various schools, various grades, I'm not sure this week is all that necessary in the overall scope of things. It is a pretty loose, relaxed atmosphere this week in school. But State College schools will wrap up tomorrow with the half day, and kiddos will head into summer break and hopefully enjoy that summer break. I know we are planning a lot of pool time. We've got a lot of camps lined up over the course of the summer. I think we're going to do summer baseball now. We just wrapped up. Matt Turtle lost a tough 6-2 game, he and his team, last night in the first round of the 9-year-old Little League playoffs. And so last game of the season was last night for that squad. I think 4 teams advanced to Thursday, and then they'll have the championship game for that group on Saturday. Do want to mention we had a real treat on our morning show today. Let's Talk, which airs 8 to 10 a.m. weekdays right here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. But we had a chance to talk with Maya Rossman, who is a youngster who has earned a very unique opportunity. Girls with Game is the organization and the event that will be occurring in Williamsport this weekend. Everything gets underway, I think, with registration at noon on Friday. They'll have a clinic. And again, these are all girls baseball players, and they're from all over the country. There were tryouts held all over the place. I believe, and I didn't bring the numbers with me, I believe it's 12 kiddos from Pennsylvania that were selected, and well over 100 tried out to be on this team. And Maya Rossman is a young lady here in the State College area district, goes to Mount Nittany Elementary School, and will go to Mount Nittany Middle School next year. But she joined us this morning and is one of the players who earned that opportunity down in Williamsport. And then they'll have games on Saturday and Sunday. But, Maya, I'm not sure. She was definitely the only girl on her team. And again, this is 5th grade, which is 11 years old, as Booch joins me.
Ironhead, right? How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Yeah, so 10, 11.
That's right.
10, 11, yeah.
So by Little League age, I think it's, 11 years old. I know she's the only girl on her team. I believe she said she's the only girl in State College Little League playing in the 11-year-old bracket. So it'll be a neat opportunity for her. It'll be, this is obviously Girls with Game, all girls that will be participating in this event, but they are kind of the best in baseball from all around the country, and just a unique opportunity. We're hoping to have a chance to talk to her about the experience then this weekend, sometime next week on our morning show. Also, probably the worst kept secret in town was that Jason Nickel, Bo Nickel's father, was going to be named and now has been named as the head coach of the State College Wrestling program. Jason has obviously a lot of knowledge of wrestling. He has an extensive history of successful high school coaching, and I do think this is a really significant and really good hire for State College area. I know a few of the other applicants that came in, and there were some other very good ones, but Jason brings a unique blend of experience and name recognition to that position. Yeah.
So first and foremost, I know only the online viewing audience can see, but I'm digging the beard, Ironhead.
Yeah.
For our listeners, Ironhead is rocking a killer salt and pepper look right now.
Yeah, a little more salt than I'd
I
care.
Feel you. I understand. I feel your pain.
I'm a big fan of pepper. I never realized how much so, but yeah. And I've had a bunch of people ask me, it's like, well, the Penguins aren't, this can't be a playoff beard. Yes, jerks. You're right.
I gave up on those a long time ago, my friend. Let me tell you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, this wasn't really like a planned out. It's just like, went a couple of days without shaving. I'm like, I think I'm going to go a couple more. Like, oh, I'll clean this up. I don't know how long I'm going to rock it. We have, in my head, I was thinking about it a little bit, and I think I'm going to try to at least keep it through. We have our family vacation coming up here at the end of June. We always go down to Holden Beach, the southern end of North Carolina, and that'll be the final week here of June this year, right before, the week before July 4th week. So I think I want to at least keep it till we get that at least to the beach and probably through that weekend.
Yeah,
then
very distinguished looking. Okay, yeah. So back to Jason Nickel. Okay, so I don't know a whole lot about high school wrestling in the area, other than I understand it's a big deal and there are pockets of, not just talent, but it goes back. The people have followed and taken the sport really seriously for quite a while. My impression watching from afar has been that in Center County, really State College is not one of the premier high school wrestling programs. Is that fair when you're comparing them against some of the other programs?
It is fair. Historically, State College has a wonderful tradition and has been a powerhouse. What has been interesting the last few years, so this is my take, and I'm not...
Because Quentin Wright was Penns Valley, right?
Quentin actually ended up at Bald Eagle area.
Oh, Bald Eagle. Okay, yeah. I knew it was one or the other.
Yeah. So State College. So this is where you get in sometimes. What is successful? State College the last couple of years has had a very good tournament team.
Okay.
Now, what happens at the PIAA state tournament in particular is if you have like three guys, such as State High had this past year with Pavlechko, Cunningham, and Manville. If you have three guys that are in the mix for state titles and, top three guys that finishing, that is likely, and it did in State College's case, going to put you in the top five most years at the end of the year. So there is that difference between tournament team, and again, you can't have just one or even two great wrestlers, but if you have three or more, obviously, but I mean, really three is kind of like top level, you're going to be putting up some points at the state tournament, especially if you can get one or two other scores, which State College did have.
Okay. Makes sense.
I think State College is a little bit of a sleeping giant, and I'm not sure why there was the drop off. I don't because I think their youth program has been good for a while now, and obviously that's where it needs to start. I do think there are a couple of things that come into play, but why State College specific when, Bald Eagle area is building back into a powerhouse, and Bald Eagle area next season, they had a very good year this past year. I think next year has a chance to be one of those really special seasons for Bald Eagle area. Bellefonte and Penns Valley have both been really, really solid. And I think Phillipsburg Osceola is going to build back up in fairly short order here. Again, it's not that State College has fallen off the map. They've had, obviously, some terrific individuals. Nick Pavlechko is going to Indiana, so, anytime you're going to a Big Ten school to wrestle on scholarship, you've accomplished something. Pearson Manville is heading out to Arizona State, which is obviously a terrific wrestling program and great school. And Asher Cunningham, of course, is heading to Penn State, and where his dad is, of course, the assistant head coach. So you had three elite wrestlers in the State High lineup, but they had some holes. I mean, some areas where I hate using that term, and that's why I hesitated. It's kids that are out there doing their best.
Right.
I hate that terminology, and I realize, shame on me, I just used it. But places in the lineup where they were not scoring the way you would want to score, those weight classes. And I think the overall development has not been as consistent as what you would like. And there's a few things that I think could be in play. And this I don't know. I just this is kind of from afar a little bit surmising. But one of the things that I do think has, and I think this is a good thing overall, but there are more competitive opportunities at a school like State College. Now, it's obviously a huge school, so in any particular sport, there's not necessarily as many opportunities for the, I'll use the term average athlete, as there would be in other schools.
How much different is it now than when you were in school? I mean,
I think it's
I have no frame of reference. My graduating class had 150 people.
Okay,
in it. So,
we had.
It's just shocking to me
So
how much bigger it is here.
Yeah, it is a crazy big school, and I don't know the overall numbers, but like we certainly did not have boys or girls lacrosse as a varsity sport when I was coming through. Now we did have, baseball, softball, basketball. I'm trying to think what else they have now that lacrosse for sure, which has grown tremendously, both in interest and time. But the other thing, or in overall numbers, the other thing that I think has changed is, and wrestling in particular, and again, we can argue good, bad, and different, but a lot of these, it feels like it was more common when I was coming through for kids to play multiple sports and think nothing of it.
Yep.
And go out and succeed at a pretty high level in all of those sports while playing. Now, you still have, there are just freakishly good athletes who still do that, and I think that's a wonderful thing. Increasingly, though, you are seeing people, and again, it's not just wrestling, it's lacrosse, it's football, it's all of these sports where, yep, this is my year-round passion. Now, we had, I don't want to make it sound like that didn't exist. There were certainly athletes that did that, and truthfully, my senior year, I'm like, yep, I'm just going to dial in now on football. And I kind of dropped out of doing some other things. So now it wasn't, we were doing workouts at the school. I wasn't going to camps all over the country and showcasing my amazing athletic prowess and all of that.
But it also sounds like that was a choice you made, not a sense like if you don't want to treat this like this is
Correct.
The NFL and you're at OTAs and speed camps and your mini camps, then we don't want you here.
Yes. So I think that the commitment that,
and by the way, I'm not saying that's the way Matt does it at State High, because I don't think that he does actually, but I have noticed just in general in youth sports over the last 20 years, all over the country, there's been a move towards encouraging specialization in a way that I think, like, for most of the kids who are participating, they're not going to be like scholarship athletes or anything, like this is the highest level of organized team sports they're going to play in. I think it's better to get different experiences. That's my take on it. But as you just said, you and I grew up when that was the norm.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think generally speaking, especially through elementary school, and I am always amazed at the number of kids and parents who are like, yep, we are wrestlers, or we are football players, or we are baseball. And again, if I always have to, because it makes it sound like I'm saying, well, anybody that does that, you're in the wrong, and this is not what I'm
definitely
saying.
Not. No,
because there's a few things in play to me. One is if it truly is your kid who's like, man, I want to play baseball year round. Like, I love baseball. Like, our kiddo right now loves baseball. Now, he also wants to try, within the last month, we have heard him express an interest in trying karate, fencing, football, tackle football and flag football, wrestling again, golf, and still baseball. So he loves baseball, was very into it. The season came to an unfortunate end last night in the first round of the 16 playoffs that their league has. And I think we're leaning toward doing I think it's a month of summer baseball.
Okay.
I think that's in July, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll probably be sprinkling in some other things here over the course of the next few months just to get him exposed and to see, he has already done some flag football. He loves rock climbing. We go down to that free plug, but that Nittany climb down in Bollesburg is phenomenal.
Yep, cool space.
Working with young people and old people, but they do a great job with the youngsters, and he loves that. So generally speaking, I think it is really good to expose your kids to as many different sports as they're interested in, and to make the commitment. Like it's I want to do this, then you do it for that season. And if they don't like it, and they're complaining about it every day, fine at the end of the year. But once you make the commitment, you sign them up. Again, this is just my belief. You got to follow through on that commitment if that's what they wanted to do. And I think it is okay to have kids exposed to things that they maybe don't necessarily want to do, because this is the other debate that comes up. It's like, well, I'm not going to make my kid do anything. Well, like, you make your kid brush their teeth, I'm presuming. I think making them get we're going to now he wants to, but like, he's going to play some instrument for at least a couple of years. He's going to get some exposure to how to learn to play an instrument. We are
really good.
He has a lot of interest in acting. We've done a couple of things with Penn State film students, helping out with their classes, and he's done well for himself. So he signed up for a theatrical camp this summer.
God bless you. Having once been in the position of the Penn State film student, desperately trying to get cheap available help to appear in those projects.
I will tell you that
you're doing the Lord's work.
Well, the job. So I do think Penn State, at least when it comes to the communications school, is in a much better place, and that is not a slam against the professors I had. When I came through Penn State.
No, it's just night and day.
Yes, it is
at that place, for sure.
The facilities, the equipment. We were getting by. Back in the day.
I feel like as an alum, you want that.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was on the air as a student. On the student radio station, some of the gear we had and some of the setups we had and the opportunities we had, I mean, it was just nothing compared to what was available even a few years later.
Yes.
And some of the guys who were a year or two ahead of me, or even after we were all graduated and I was just working with the undergrads, they grumble a little bit. And I would say, hey, man, like, this is what we want. Like, we were laying down a foundation that you want to see your successors be able to build on and get opportunities that you didn't have. And Pellisario has done an unbelievable job growing from where it was, even when I was there in the late 90s, and I'm sure going back to when you were in school in the 80s.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, the school has produced more than its fair share over that whole history. I mean, coming through with me.
No hate on the basement of the Carnegie or Carnegie, if you prefer, building at all. But it's nothing. It really, the new Willard building is just a tad nicer.
Yes, it is very, very cool to see what they are doing now and what they have. And again, there have been people that have, in my era, I mean, Sweeney Murdy and Justin Birch, guys that went on and had success at the highest levels of.
Do you know the guy who wrote the screenplay for Seven, the Brad Pitt movie? He was a Penn State alum.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I
if
think
did,
he
I forgot
graduated
it,
from
but
the film program. I want to say in
Is
the
that right?
early 90s. Yeah.
Well, that's
Because when I
very,
enrolled,
very
I'm dating
cool.
myself a little bit, but that film had just come out relatively recently, and that was like a big talking point that the guy who wrote that screenplay was at Penn State.
No, that's very cool. So it is a much better experience now. You have an opportunity to work with the equipment that you'll be working with if you do get into the field, and you're seeing a lot of Penn State kids pretty immediately have pretty high levels of success when they get out there now. There's I don't want to go through the whole list, but a couple that we just got to know. I mean, Amanda Gifford is like on the verge of, I think, taking over ESPN. Basically, she has worked her way up. If you watch the Pirates broadcast, Hannah Mears is a recent graduate, and she's doing the field work now for the Pirates. But she's also doing some stuff with the Big Ten Network. She was out at the Big Ten Wrestling Tournament this year. There's been a number of recent grads who, again, are in prominent roles on camera, on air, and many obviously off air, working their way up. And it's just neat to see. It's good for the school, obviously, and I think it's that program now. The Belisario Communications is a genuine source of pride for the university. And again, you can just look at the folks that they're putting out and the success that they're having, and it speaks volumes about where that school is right now and how far it has advanced. Because and I've been able to work with a few of the students here and there on different things, and they are coming out very prepared and very sharp. Like, these are folks that are ready to go make a difference in the industry. So that is kind of neat to see. From the two notes I wanted to get to, and I keep forgetting to mention this on the morning show. A State High grad also over the weekend was honored and inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Jonathan Koch, it's an amazing story. We're working to get him on our show at some point here in the near future. But he overcame an infection that took his hand, and it, for a while, thought might take his life. He is a very successful, I think it's producer, I guess, out in the LA area of movies and TV. And we've connected a little bit. Was a decent wrestler at State College, not a state champ or anything like that, but solid wrestler. But he has gone on and just had tremendous success, but a really fascinating life story behind him as well.
So I got to get him nominated for the Maroon and Gray Society.
I'll tell you what, that would not
Okay.
be a bad place to go. And hopefully I'll clear up my schedule this year for that, because I do love that event. Tomorrow, by the way, is the kids have already signed, but they are having a I don't know what you'd call it, a recognition, I guess, of the kids who have signed from State College area high school with college athletic teams.
Oh, sure.
And so we have that recognition tomorrow night. I think it's 6:00, and I'll be fortunate enough to host that again. We've had did it last year. They have good numbers this year. Last year was ridiculous. We had it was 40 some athletes at colleges. I think we're in the teens this year. I mean, it's still a good number. Last year, though, was just, I mean, it was insane. It seems like there's a little smaller senior class, at least athletically this year. I just know, looking at some of the teams, I mean, even football, obviously had plenty of seniors, but a lot of the key contributors were underclassmen.
Yeah.
I think the softball team only had 2 starters who were seniors, if I'm remembering right. Baseball didn't have a lot. So, I think next year and maybe the year after, those numbers will go up again. But so generally speaking, I do think I think it's okay to, hey, I don't care if you want to play baseball or not. I want you to get exposed to it. Or I think wrestling's a wonderful sport to just, again, even if it's just a month, it's just a good baseline sport, gets you active for sure, and just teaches you some good basic athletic skills. So it's not that I'm against making kids do something that they don't want to do, but making them do something, even if they're good at it, like year round or consistently, again, making somebody exposed to something. Hey, I want you to try this. Food. It's like, I want you to try this. I'm not going to force it down your throat every night if you don't like it after trying it. That doesn't make sense. But yes, making somebody try it, depending on what it is. There's limits there, by the way. It's another story altogether. But so
see, look at this. We're even getting comments online. People love the beard.
Yeah,
Ironhead.
It's been getting mixed reviews. Overall, it seems to be.
There's only one review that matters,
good.
and it's the reason why I'm typically clean shaven.
That is true. She seems to be okay with it.
Okay,
not horrified by it. Anyway,
that's good. That's important.
At least to this point. Yeah, we'll see. I just kind of, again, it wasn't something that was necessarily well thought out or planned. It just kind of, I'm okay with this. We'll see how this goes. Because I've had a bunch of, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. Just mixing it up a little bit, seeing how it goes. But so listen, but if your kid has, and this is where I'm always, and David Taylor, I use too much as the example, but I mean, David, I've talked to his dad enough that, David really did. Like, when I tell you he loved the sport at an early age, like, he just loved it. And that's what he wanted to do. Sure. And he was obviously very good at it. And, I don't know if you want to say protege, but I mean, he was very gifted and truly had a passion for it. It is really rare. Like, so that's why I always, I'm not saying everybody, but I am saying the overwhelming majority, like 99% of the kids out there, you are better off, certainly at least up to high school. I would argue if you're a good enough athlete to be a starter in multiple sports, even through high school, I think there is a real benefit to playing multiple sports. Yeah. I think that is the way to go. Again, are there exceptions if there's a kid, I just don't like any other sports and I want to do this and I'm good at it? Well, yes, by all means. I've talked to David enough over the years and I think he may have told the story here. It's like, I remember a bunch of kids on the travel teams and stuff I went with, and a lot of them who were, as good or, at least about as good as David at that stage, like, I'm done by the time they got to high school or certainly before college and again, there's different things that can occur, but that mental grind and fatigue and, I know a couple of friends who had, either they themselves were pushed or, had kids that were pushed by one parent or the other a little bit. And it's like, I'm out. It's one point or another in high school.
A burnout.
It just is too much. So I think let your kids follow their passions. Again, if they get to high school and it's like, hey, I really don't want to do anything but this, and it's truly them telling you that, yes, I'm saying force them to go do things that they don't want to do or, don't allow them to follow a passion. But certainly through elementary school, I'm just, I am a big proponent of exposing to different things and, again, seeing what you like and don't like and go from there is my recommendation for all that it's worth. And it's not really worth anything. So you can take it or leave it. Distinguished. I'll take that. Distinguished as the look.
I agree.
We are going to take a break here. When we come back, I do want to talk a little bit more about the future of college athletics, because I've been saying I think it is going to pan out a little bit like I've been saying, but maybe not quite as drastically or to the degree, at least short term, as I was thinking. I think it's still going to pan out that way, but it may be a more gradual process, and there may be some I think there's going to be a tiered approach kind of to athletic programs within different schools. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit as we continue with the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube on this beautiful Tuesday.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back in. Chris Buchanani filling in for an ailing Goon here this afternoon.
Man, if you send some good vibes Goon's way. He is having a heck of a time with a dental issue, and those can be killer, man. It is just the worst.
Yeah. It's so, when you are healthy and nothing's really bothering you significantly, it is amazing how much you take for granted.
Yeah.
With that health.
No
and
joke.
you just get like something
joke.
that I had a toe issue. It was and it's still not, it's fine now, but there's still like a little bit of tenderness, and I feel like it's not bothering me anywhere near the way it was for a while. I mean, there was a while where, like, if a feather dropped on my foot, it's like, ah!
Yeah.
I was in agony, and they got it taken care of, and like, yeah, you're gonna have to keep an eye on it because it's some sort of a fungus, and if it comes back, it ended up turning into like an ingrown toenail thing, and it was painful. But the coach of my kiddo's little league team has been battling shin splints for the last week.
Those are the worst.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
are those?
not fun.
I remember the last time I had those, and yes, it is. There's just a lot of things that, in the overall grand scheme of things, it's like, wow, that's not that big of a deal. And it is a huge deal when you're going through it. And shin splints and dental issues, teeth issues are right at the top of that list of, oh, man, it is just agony when you're going through it. So, yes, we're hoping the Deer Goon gets through these issues sooner rather than later and gets them truly put in the past. Again, we're not going to have a show on Thursday. We got word of the schedule for Thursday on the local front, and so we're going to have live coverage of Bald Eagle area baseball against Montauk in the Class AA quarterfinals at 2:30 on Thursday afternoon. So that means that game, likely our coverage will end somewhere around 4:30 roughly. And so we're just making the call to make everybody's life a little easier. We just are not going to do a show on Thursday, so we will be back a week from today, hopefully with a healthy Goon, feeling good and ready to go. So I know you've done a lot on the ever-changing world of intercollegiate athletics,
Indeed.
what the future may look like. And I've been talking that I'm kind of expecting that at some point fairly soon, we're going to see a lot of sports dropped and scholarships eliminated.
That sounds definitely possible.
I still, so, but this is talking to a couple people over the weekend, and with some knowledge of more connected to the college sports scene. I'll put it that way than I am. What they are expecting, at least near term, is not necessarily an elimination of sports at like a campus like Penn State,
right,
or some of the other Big Ten schools, but more, and it might not be an openly stated like, hey, these are our top tier sports and these are our second tier. And listen, you could argue that, well, yeah, this is the way it's always been. I think, and there's some merit to that. I mean, certainly nobody would argue that the men's swimming and diving team is on equal footing with football, right? Like nobody anywhere ever thought that. But even beyond, football obviously is in a tier to itself. I think basketball is in a tier probably to itself. And then it's after that, okay, what do you do with these other sports? I think you are, at least initially, maybe not going to see sports eliminated, like, hey, we're just doing away with this. But some sports, and again, I don't necessarily, I'm not saying this is necessarily going to occur at Penn State. I'm not saying it won't happen at Penn State, but I think pretty consistently throughout college athletics, it's like, okay, at Iowa and at Penn State and at Oklahoma State, wrestling's a priority. We're going to make a commitment to have a big-time wrestling program. I think with what we saw baseball and softball do this past season, it feels like those are sports that Penn State would put into that, upper tier, if you will, of the, again, after you get past football and basketball. I think
especially
hockey,
because both of them, softball in particular, are growing in importance as media properties for the conference.
Yes, and have an opportunity. Yes, for sure. And I think both have. So part of the appeal, I think, for those sports in terms of being upper tier also is just when they're played, right? Like the spring has traditionally been, like, if you go back over the years with the Sears Directors Cup and then Learfield Directors Cup, but the multi-sports competition that they have that Stanford pretty much always wins. But if you look at that, Penn State has pretty consistently over the years come out of it like top 10 and a lot of times even top 5 out of the fall, drop down a little bit and, maybe top 10 through the winter, and then finish in the top 20, still do well, but there's not a lot of oomph behind the spring sports, hasn't been traditionally.
Yeah, sure.
In the fall, Penn State has had a lot of success, obviously in football, but both soccer programs over the years have been very successful. Field hockey has been very successful. Women's volleyball has been wildly successful. So, and again, the winter sports, obviously wrestling lately has been off the charts. But historically, again, both gymnastics programs done well. Men's volleyball has done well. So Penn State, I think, if you're looking at the sports that I think, and I don't know, but I think you would put into the upper tier, at least initially. I think both soccer programs right now, just, again, tradition and recent success.
It's got a big facility upgrade
and
in here.
So with that investment, you'd think, yes, that's a no-brainer. I think, and the potential revenue, and again, it's all relative. Again, we're talking about all of these sports are not net gains revenue-wise for Penn State, but in terms of eyeballs to the TV set and sports that have a chance to, I think, again, generate enough interest to make it a good product from a fan standpoint, from a revenue standpoint, with concessions and ticket sales and all of that.
I've always thought it was I found it a little surprising, given the increased interest in soccer as a sport and in European League soccer among younger generations of sports fans, and given the relative quality of the product of collegiate soccer, I've been surprised that all the natural rivalries and brands you get with the big conferences, especially in the Big Ten, where it's really strong, that it hasn't grown faster than it has. Because you would think that would be a natural transition to convert the EPL fans. Okay, now you're in college, you can follow your college team. And really, I mean, for the most part, most of the schools that are the best in soccer are traditionally strong in either basketball, football, or both. So they've got that built-in floor of fan interest, and it's yet to materialize.
So here are the see what you think of my thinking here, because I've actually thought about this a good bit. I've been fortunate enough to fill in here and there in recent years, doing PA for both men's and women's soccer games. Okay. And so I've observed it's it's a decent crowd, but man, you'd think, national championship in recent history here for the women's program, the tradition of the men's program, as you said, the overall popularity of soccer. But then I got to thinking about it, and this is I don't know that I'm right about this, but this is what I think. This is what I think as to what's happening. So the soccer games are traditionally and almost exclusively, I believe, played Friday nights and Sunday afternoons.
That seems right.
Friday nights in this area is a big high school sport night.
Yes.
It is also, and this is what I meant to
pretty
get
soon,
to.
people are going to be flocking to their TV sets so they can catch Illinois versus Rutgers on Friday night. That's going to be big time stuff. You don't want to miss Michigan State hosting Minnesota on Friday night.
The showdowns that will be. So I do think that So part of this is I don't know any way around it. Part of this is, and it happens throughout this, when you have a broad-based athletic program as Penn State's does,
right?
Part of what happens is you are forced to make a choice on some nights. Hey, do I go to the hockey game or do I go to the wrestling match? Do I go to the basketball game or do I go to the gymnastics meet? Do I go to this event or that event? So women's volleyball obviously has also been wildly successful.
Mm-hmm.
Women's volleyball is, if you haven't paid attention, that is in the comfortable confines of rec hall, meaning if it's brutally cold out, if it's raining, if it's really windy, you got to get from the parking lot into rec hall. But then you can just relax, kick back, and watch some great sports action. Jeffrey Field, wonderful venue, and it's going to be a much better venue in the very near future. But Friday nights, Sunday afternoons in September, certainly in October, sometimes can not be an exceptionally pleasant experience for the viewer, having nothing to do with the game itself. So there's that part of it, is that you're competing, again, against other Penn State sports sometimes on that Friday night. You're competing against high school football, which is very big in this area. And then on Sunday afternoons, and listen, I will be the first to tell you, there are times where I'm like, oh man, I'd love to see that Penn State women's soccer matchup. That seems like it's going to be a really good one. What time is the Steelers game? No.
Steelers are on.
I'll follow, and I do. I follow because I'm interested in it, but my Steelers are going to win out.
Man, I'm with you. Yep.
And so I do think part of it, not necessarily all of it, but part of it is you're up against it a little bit in competing for the entertainment dollar there on a Friday night or a Sunday afternoon if you're those soccer programs. And
this is a very good point.
And I do think there's genuine interest, and it's like, oh, if my high school team's away and I don't have a kid play, maybe I'll go to the soccer game and listen to the game if the weather's, going to cooperate enough, that type of thing. And so I don't know. I think that those things at least play into it a little bit as far as the attendance figures for, in particular, the soccer teams. But I think when you look at what I think is, and again, I don't know that they're going to expressly come out and say, I'm not expecting that they would, that, hey, these are our top tier sports. These are the ones where we're really going to take care of everybody to the nth degree. But I'm expecting that both soccer programs will fall into that. Women's volleyball, hockey, wrestling, baseball, softball. And the one I'm most on the fence, I think there are some others that we maybe can discuss. And we may parse words a little bit or split hairs over what exactly we mean by upper tier. But I think the track and field programs may fall into that upper tier category as well, because of, like, if you look at what Czechna Traylor was doing this year, or Haley Kitching, like they have some high profile, big time athletes coming through that program. And
on the sliding scale, that's a cheaper program to run.
Yes. And so it's a cheaper program. It's, kind of a year round with the indoor and the outdoor. So there's, I guess, at least to me, you're almost getting double bang for the buck if you have a championship squad, like they are going to be competing in both. And again, I think there's enough interest there, enough history. Like, I think track and field, at least to me, would fall into that category of what I would expect would be, all right, pretty clearly upper tier. That would be the most debatable, maybe, of the ones I've listed, but I think that would fall into upper tier. I think there's a few programs then that it's like, yes,
you didn't mention
no?
them, but I assume you're putting women's volleyball in there also.
Women's volleyball, I thought I did.
Well, maybe I missed it.
If I did,
sure,
yes, women's volleyball for sure. Both basketball programs and football are in a separate category.
Correct.
Women's basketball, because you have to offset men, and so that those three are again clearly going to be taken care of.
Also, by the way, percentage-wise, the fastest growing category for college sports is now there's a lot more room to grow, right?
Yep.
So, like when you have the market penetration of men's college basketball, obviously there's just not room to expand the way women's basketball is,
Yep.
but that sport is growing quickly. So if last year was not a flash in the pan and indicative of Penn State back on the upswing,
yes,
well, just like is happening with baseball and softball, we're probably turning the corner at the right time in terms of what it's going to mean as a revenue generator and a media property.
Now, the other two that I would definitively, if I were in charge, and I think will probably end up in that category as well, would be men's and women's lacrosse. Both also very fast-growing sports in terms of nationally with youth.
Sure.
Both programs that have risen to prominence in recent years. I mean, both have top-tier coaches, are getting top-tier talent, and both have made, in recent times, significant runs in the NCAA tournament.
And again, we already just made a big investment in facilities.
A huge investment in facilities. So I would think they are going to be in that upper tier as well.
My
Field
swimming
hockey
folks are not loving what they're hearing.
No,
right
well,
now,
and so again, but so this
Sorry,
is
gang.
the thing. Well, and this is where I think it's going to get a little tricky when we talk about. So field hockey is one that I think is going to be interesting. So when I'm talking about upper tier, just so we're clear, I'm not saying that Penn State won't be, or any of these other schools won't be still committed to funding the programs.
Sure. Yeah.
So one of the examples, is like Ohio State. I don't have the exact numbers. A lot of their athletic teams charter like almost anywhere they go. I mean, football and basketball, I think across the board in the Big Ten probably do that. When I'm saying all in, or upper tier funding, I'm not saying that these other sports aren't going to get good facilities. Like I think this swimming and diving program is a great example. Like it's long overdue, like crazily, like decades overdue to get a legitimate big time swimming facility.
I was
can accommodate that program.
I was in the Nat for the first time, like in years and years, probably since I was a student, a couple months ago to watch the water polo team, the Penn State water polo team. And even as somebody who knows next to nothing about that stuff, you could just tell describe it as substandard would be generous.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that I think is being addressed, right? I think they've already, I think that's actually in the works for the, I'll have to double check. I think I'm right about that.
Well, that was going to happen
and
right
then,
before the scandal broke. And then, we had to tighten our belts and it ended up on the chopping block.
Yeah. But I think that's back, I'll have to double check that because now I'm not as confident as I thought I was that is,
I know there's pretty serious talk about it, but there's also been pretty serious talk that they're going to tear the Hammond building down, I think, since I was in school. And there it is, still darkening our doorstep on College Ave. Terrible eyesore on a beautiful campus.
So, offering scholarships and having and getting good coaches in that sport is part of it.
Yep.
I think those sports like tennis, golf, like all of those sports, I think in that regard, and I think when you look at the Penn State golf courses and the investment that's been made there, so it when I'm saying tiered, I guess to be a little more precise about it, it's like, what are the top programs in the country in those sports doing to take care of their athletes?
Sure.
Are they now? So in some of these sports, like actually, you know what? Maybe I need to do a research project. I was going to say, like, I don't think any golf teams are chartering flights, but I don't. Maybe they are. Maybe in like.
I mean, I don't know who's
Matt,
winning national titles in the SEC, golf, all things are possible. Okay, but I would say outside of that, maybe a couple of West Coast schools like a Stanford or you know, Stanford is the one that comes to mind. Like, probably not very often. No.
Yeah. But like, so I think you're going to see some of these sports get more resources pushed toward them.
Yep.
To allow for better experiences for the student athletes, less time missed from school, you know, less travel issues and that sort of stuff. And long term, again, it's going to be interesting. I think you're going to see, and I don't know exactly how it's going to shake out. I don't think it's necessarily going to be, all right, you have just like you're either big time Division I or you're Division III, where you're not getting scholarships. I think it's going to be more nuanced, and there's going to be a lot more kind of Division II type of things occurring, where it's like, yeah, we're giving scholarships, but we're not giving the, and I'm making up the numbers because I don't know what they would be, but like we're not giving the 6 scholarships that we always gave in golf. Now we're giving 4. And we're divvying that up a little more. Like, and again, I don't think initially, I mean, I'm not expecting this in the next year or two, but I think as everybody starts to figure out what the landscape is, then I think you'll have like 40 to maybe 50 schools say, yep, we want to be big time wrestling. Like Penn State obviously is all in. They're hiring the NIL director. They have the resources. Iowa, Oklahoma State is certainly all in. I think Missouri would push all of its chips in if moving forward. Michigan and Ohio State. You know, I think Minnesota would do that. Rutgers probably with the prestige that they're getting from that sport.
I think that's right.
You know, and then I think, again, at the end of the day, I think probably 40-ish schools.
Rutgers is truly, they're really like just like a homeless guy who found a winning lotto ticket. Like they get pulled into they're in the Big East, for God's sakes, and they get pulled into the Big Ten because, you know, Jim Delaney believes that cable households are still going to be a thing that's going to matter for like the next 40 years instead of the next 40 minutes. And now they just like they're grandfathered into this media deal. I mean, it's remarkable. It is one of the greatest good luck stories. It's like it's the American dream, really.
They hit the jackpot. How long will that jackpot last, though, is also a question. And again, I don't think Goon and I have talked about, you know, might at some point the Big Ten look around and say, all right, yeah, Rutgers actually doesn't make sense. Why don't you go that way? Northwestern, why don't you go this way? And I mean, they have, I think, the number 2 recruiting class in men's basketball right now. Who's that?
Rutgers.
Oh, I was going to say Northwestern.
Yeah, no, not
yes,
Northwestern.
Yes,
I mean, Rutgers is shocking enough. Northwestern would be, I mean, earth-shattering. But that to me is an example. And look, a lot of it is they've formed a good relationship with Ron Harper is one of my all-time favorite NBA players. They made good relationship with the Harper family.
Yeah.
And you don't need to get too many talented kids in order to boost your class rankings. Bring Ron Harper Jr. in, and all of a sudden you're a top 10 class just with him before you've signed anyone else. But to me, that is an example in wrestling as well as how they have capitalized on the good fortune of raking in this money, which is largely unearned through the Big Ten media rights deal. And they're the Washington Generals for Ohio State and Michigan in football, and they collect their check and they've put the money to good use.
Yeah, no, they have, and they're where they can make a move. I think they've been able to do that. You're listening to WFXS Pleasant Gap State College. We appreciate your doing so. We are coming right back with more from Quaker Steak and Lube. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube in State College. By the way, if you're in the State College area and you're a little hungry, the all-you-can-eat wing buffet is now officially open.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, handsy busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
We welcome you back here on this Tuesday afternoon, looking at the future, as we like to do with college athletics. But so, again, I think there's going to be more. I think the overall impact here is actually initially, at least, going to be pretty positive for all of the sports programs. I just think as it moves forward, immediate impact, I'm talking like the next 2 years. Okay. Because I do think right now there's going to be money coming in with the TV contracts. I think they're going to feel like, okay, we can make, substantial investments here, some investments there, that sort of thing. And I don't think initially certainly I'm not expecting a Penn State like any sport's going to be dropped altogether. I do think then as you move forward, though, it's like, okay, well, could this program with a little extra push become a revenue producer, or at least one that basically breaks even for us? And I think some of these sports really do have that chance.
Sure. Well, right now, as we sit here today, hockey and wrestling are kind of right in that area. In fact, hockey has actually finished like very, very nominally in the black. Now, I mean, I think by like 6 figures, which may sound like a lot until you see the size of the athletic department budget.
Right.
And then you're like, well, okay, it's a wash. But the bottom line is it brought in a little bit of money, and it didn't cost you anything to operate the hockey program.
Well,
hockey.
Yes. And I think when you look at the prestige that can come from, having championship teams in any of these sports, right? There is something to that I think helps the overall brand of your athletic department. What I think is going to be interesting to see, though, is, and again, what I'm kind of now expecting is, again, you'll have, just make up the number, let's say 40 programs that are all in on wrestling, 50 that are all in on men's lacrosse, 50 that are all in on women's lacrosse, 30 that are all in on women's gymnastics, whatever the numbers may be. I don't think now, my current thinking is, I think you're going to have kind of the NFL or, whatever you want to compare it to, because this is what I've been saying for years with men's gymnastics and even men's volleyball. Like there's not a lot of programs, and people, I've got into a debate one time about, well, I mean, there's only whatever it was, 18 programs in men's gymnastics. Winning a national title is not a big deal. I'm like, I would argue winning a national title in men's gymnastics is a bigger deal than winning it in a sport like basketball, where the talent is diluted among whatever it is, 300 programs.
Yeah.
Like, you are getting the best of the best. Like the team that is finishing 18th or whatever it is, I'm not sure what the number of programs at the moment in men's gymnastics. I am telling you, like, those are top level gymnasts, like really good gymnasts. I mean, I love wrestling, and there's not a lot of wrestling programs, but there are kids out there that are Division I wrestlers that you're like, not all that special, not all that great. Gymnastics, to be a scholarship gymnast in men's gymnastics, or to be a scholarship volleyball player, like, you have got to be really good coming out. Now, again, I'm not saying everybody necessarily pans out in college, but I mean, to get that scholarship, you have had to have done something pretty spectacular in your career up to that point. And I think that's what's going to happen with, again, most of these sports, is you're going to have a really competitive, high-level end and group of teams competing. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have a lot of schools, and I think they will, I don't know exactly how this will shake out, but I think it's going to be, all right, these are your power wrestling schools, and then these are the other schools that have scholarship wrestling. And again, I would compare it to Division II, where you're not all in, but you still have scholarship opportunities. It is competitive. I mean, if you watch the Division II football playoffs, I mean, it is great competition.
Do you know who TJ Altimore is? Tony Altimore. Do you know that name?
I don't.
Okay, so he runs a consultancy out on the West Coast, and you'll probably see, if you're on Twitter at all. I don't know if he goes on other platforms. He probably does, but I see him on Twitter or X or whatever. He creates all kinds of like very, very interesting charts and graphs about the finances of college athletics. And he put out a really, really interesting one just this, like, within the last 6 or 7 days, which speaks exactly to the point you're talking about, where he was showing how the top 12 spending programs at the top of each of the two lower divisions plus FCS in college sports are spending way more than the bottom 12 of the higher division. So like the top 12 Division III programs are spending a ton more than the bottom 12 Division II programs. And so I think what he was kind of getting at is that we might not be far off from a reshuffling of a lot of these where we look at it and say, like, okay, now that the big boys at the top have finally pulled the shrink wrap off revenue sharing and paying the players, it's going to create this waterfall effect that cascades down through the rest of all college sports, where we take a look at it and we're like, these divisions have been set for quite a long time, and they're probably not reflective of, to your point, just how all in on competing in these sports some of the institutions are. And it would probably be better to reshuffle them so you don't have schools that, for whatever, because of their size or their budget or just the institutional culture or all three, they just don't belong competing with, some of the other top end schools that are like vastly outstripping them. So maybe to your point, maybe this starts out as an informal division and ultimately ends up being formalized.
Yeah. And I think, again, you could have one school. I mean, you do have this in some cases, even as it is, but I think much more so, like, I mean, right now, if you're a Big Ten school, right, in any varsity sport, you're competing at the highest level. Now, competing maybe can be used in air quotes in some of those cases, but I mean,
right.
Let me just, with the Division II, because this is something that I actually was stunned, and I mean, it's a while now that I learned about this, but I always. And again, I mean, this is like going back 20 years, maybe even a little more than that. But when I was in school and even in the early part of my broadcasting career, I truly thought that, and I don't know if everybody knows this. So like football, when I was growing up, there were not scholarship limits. So you had like some schools were handing out 150 scholarships,
right,
and others were handing out 50, and you were trying to compete. Well, they put the cap, and
Bear Bryant
pretty much
infamously used to just stash guys on their roster.
Yes, just to keep them from going elsewhere. Which, I mean, in this day and age,
forget about it.
So one of the things that I always thought, though, once they put that scholarship limit is in place, and I think in college football it pretty much is the case, where if you're playing Division I football, you have the full 85 scholarships.
Right.
I don't think there's any in football that it's like, well, yeah, we're going to compete, but we'll just do the 60 scholarships.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Now, but Division I wrestling, like Lock Haven, I don't know if people are necessarily aware of this, but like Lock Haven, you are permitted 9.9 scholarships in Division I wrestling. Obviously, I think all of the Big Ten schools have the 9.9 scholarships. Yeah. And I think most of the schools competing. But like Lock Haven, I'm not sure if they even have 5 full scholarships.
That's wild.
That they give. And I know there are some other schools that they are not at the 9.9.
Yeah.
So trying to compete, right? Like there's always going to be some inequity. There's, just the history, the support, all of that. Even more so, certainly now in the NIL era. I mean, Oklahoma State and Iowa and Penn State, to use the SEC, it just means more there than it does, even at some of the other, an NC State or a Missouri. It does.
I mean, that is like one of the most accurate marketing slogans of all time. I mean, we can laugh at it, but they nailed it.
Yep, they absolutely did. So where I was going, so Division II, like the PSAC schools here in Pennsylvania, I always thought and I forget what the limit, and maybe it's changed now, but the last time I was aware of this, I think it was, I want to say 37 or 39 scholarships that you had in Division II.
Okay.
But I had a friend who was coaching and went to watch one of his games, and we were talking afterward. I'm like, boy, that team just always seems to be dominating. Like IUP always had success. He's like, well, yeah, but I mean, and at the time, and now I'm forgetting the schools, but so like IUP had the 37 or the 39 scholarships. There were two teams in the conference that had fewer than 10, and the one had, I think it was like 4 or 5 scholarships. It's like, well, yeah, we're not competing. I mean, that would be like Penn State taking on a team that consistently is handing out 40 scholarships. Well, yeah, Penn State's going to win every single time because you have twice. And I mean, it's even more than that. I mean, again, 30, let's just say it was 37-4.
Yeah, that's
3
wild.
more scholarship athletes. Yes, but they were playing in the same conference, the same league. Well, that is insane. But I think you could see some situations like that develop where, and again, I think even within, so like not every Big Ten school will be big time D1 in all sports. Like, and I think you'll see. And listen, there may be smaller schools. Like we just had Little Rock had a terrific year in college wrestling. If Little Rock wants to make wrestling a signature sport, or like Lehigh does and Lock Haven does, so you may see like out of those 40 teams that are kind of going all in, it may not necessarily be all Power 5 schools, and it's the same thing like you're seeing it in men's volleyball. I mean, you have programs that are all in men's volleyball, and you have other big time athletic programs that don't have a team.
Yep.
So it's not, but I think you're going to see more of that where it's like, and I think some sports, again, where I was thinking they may just be, and I'm not saying I'm right now, but I was thinking like some of these sports may just go the club route and become non-varsity sports anywhere. I now, after talking to a couple of people, I think it's more likely that they'll retain some scholarship level, some varsity status, but I think some of these sports won't be treated the way they are right now in terms of, hey, D1 and we're committing all in to you. The other component to this that I just think is going to be worth watching is what does happen with some of the club sports. Penn State has terrific club sports programs. You talked about the water polo, but the rugby program has just an unbelievable tradition and is strong year in and year out. And there's a whole, and even in the sports where Penn State has varsity sports, there's a very good club softball. I think club wrestling.
Yeah, they just won the national championship in club baseball.
Yeah, so all of these sports, the boxing club is still going strong at Penn State. So, but all of that does cost money too. And I think those sports are going to remain as club sports and get whatever subsidies that they do now moving forward. But you can. I had an interesting conversation many years ago with Joe Batista when we were talking about the move to D1, and he obviously pushed for it and was excited when it happened. Mm-hmm. But even before it happened, he's like, there are some advantages to being a club sport. You're like, and he talked about like he had not complete, but I mean pretty much complete control over that program.
Yep.
In terms of how it was marketed. Well, like you as a head coach now, if you're a varsity program, you have to report. And again, he couldn't do anything. I mean, there were some guidelines and stuff handed down by Penn State, but he could largely work. He could come up with his own budget. He had to figure out how to get the funds for it and all of that, of course. But there was a lot more autonomy as a head coach of a club sports program than there is, oddly enough, for a varsity sports program.
For sure.
Just because, again, you are automatically in the bureaucracy that is.
Nobody cares if you're
athletics.
taping over the Nike logo on your skates when you're a club hockey program.
And if they do, it's because of an agreement you as the head coach directly went into. So I will be interested to see, and again, I don't think this is anything that's going to happen immediately, but relatively quickly, it would not shock me if some of these sports say, you know what, we, on our own, maybe we will just kind of delve out, and it may be a situation where the athletic departments are like, yeah, that's probably a good decision. I don't know that they're necessarily going to be pressured to do it, but I think what I can see happening is, listen, we're directing the funds toward these sports. Yes, we're going to do what we need to do to keep you going. Well, how long before you're running one of those programs and you're seeing what the programs that are on that upper tier are getting? Are you going to say, you know what, either I want more autonomy and because we can go out and do some fundraising and do some things, or so I think there's at least a chance that this evolves more that route, and that it goes the way more of what we consider Division II programs, where again there's still going to be scholarships involved. But it's going to be more regional schedules. Although I am absolutely convinced that the regional schedule part is coming back, I think, fairly quickly here on the big time level as well.
How could it not?
Well, and especially, I really would love to be in on these, just to be the fly on the wall, not to participate in them, but just to listen to the Big Ten and the SEC talk everything through, because they have to be, right? Like, that part of the discussions there have to be, all right, when we conquer and divide and we get the two super conferences together, like, we have got to go back. Like, this just doesn't make sense, us traveling all over the country. And they'll put the divisions, they'll both have a Northeast, Southeast, Southwest, and West division, right? Like
Greg Stanke, who is the commissioner of the SEC and arguably the single most powerful voice in college sports right now, did his annual, post-spring press conference and made some very telling comments about how frustrated he became about his league and their schools being at the mercy of huge NCAA committees that have like 35, 40 people on them, mostly representing institutions that don't have a whole heck of a lot in common with the smallest program in the SEC. And he's not a dumb guy. He's not just speaking off the cuff. When he's putting something like that out there, that is a shot across the bow saying, hey, I am pretty comfortable sending out some pretty clear warning signs that these conversations are moving, they're moving faster, so get ready. Well, and it only makes sense because, to your point, why in the world should – I know it's not good. It's not good for the schools at the top. It's not good for the schools in the middle or at the bottom either, to be all trying to pull the rope in the same direction when they have completely divergent needs and interests. And then once you can get the haves, the true haves together, and they can kind of have the power of self-determination, then they will sit down and say, it's crazy enough to have a conference game between Virginia Tech and Stanford, but it's absurd and I'm talking for football, it's absurd for basically any of our other sports, especially any of our Olympic sports, to do it.
And so while it'll be very different, and I think there will be a lot of complaining, and I'll probably be adding a good bit of it myself, at the end of the day, I think what ends up shaking out is we get a much more enjoyable product for folks to watch when we're talking about the highest level.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, like right now, we were just talking a little bit about the noon kickoff for Penn State Bowling Green. People are going to go to that game because it's Penn State football. But nobody is excited to watch Penn State take on Bowling Green. Right? Like there's nobody at Bowling Green. Like they might be excited to see Beaver
revenge
Stadium.
for the Toledo game last year.
You're
right. Yeah, nobody.
So if we get to where I think we're going to, and there's, again, 40, 50, like big-time football programs, and they're going all in, and, I don't know how this will shake out, but if you have 10 games, and maybe they still, hey, let's do, in essence, a preseason, we'll schedule 2 games against the lesser tiers or whatever to get a little extra revenue in, get our guys ready, whatever. That's fine. But I think the league itself, much like the NFL, not every game is going to be a thrilling, there's still going to be some separation here. But you're going to have, I think, teams that will be much more comparable, meeting much more consistently over the course of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you'll have a longer playoff season, which I think is much more enjoyable for fans anyway. Even if you get some blowouts, it's at least in games that mean more, and it's blowouts against teams that have at least similar blueprints for success, and whether or not they're following them, that's up to the programs and the coaches and all of that stuff. But I think you're going to get more consistently good competitive matchups rather than what we see now, especially with the non-conference schedules, where there are just so few and far between. Even yes, we got spoiled in the 80s. Penn State was playing at those times non-conference games against Nebraska, and then Alabama, Notre Dame, all of those games that you could get to see as a Penn State fan. But it wasn't just Penn State. Like, you were seeing a lot of fun intersectional games in the early season, and those just slowly went away, and now they're not non-existent, but it's like a really big deal now when you get to see an Oregon and a Michigan match up. It's like, oh man, this is going to be cool, because it's one of about 5 total non-conference games that you're like, oh yeah, I want to see that one.
And it's increasingly rare that it's an on-campus home-and-home series. A lot of times it's just a one-off at a neutral site. And I understand the media money and everything. Yep. It's just, that's not college football.
No.
To me. Like, I have never watched a regular season college game in an NFL venue and come away feeling anything but bad about the experience of it. It's just not the same. College football on college campuses is where it's at. So and you'll get more of that too. You'll get more of the unique college environments, and less we're playing in the Falcons Stadium.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's a good point too. Take a final break here. We are back to wrap things up for our Tuesday edition. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fall.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, handsy busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And our thanks to Timberland as well as Sioka Motors, and of course a huge thank you to Quaker Steak and Lube and our title sponsor Lion Country Kia. Quaker Steak and Lube, all you can eat wing buffet is underway, and one of the reasons we love doing our Tuesday shows here. Again, a quick programming note: no show on Thursday. We're going to have Bald Eagle Area Baseball and the PIAA State quarterfinals in the AA tournament. Both Bald Eagle Area Baseball and softball have advanced to the quarterfinals on Thursday.
They're really, really good in baseball and softball. It's
really
ridiculous.
Good. Yeah, the history there is pretty remarkable. And Don Lucas, the head coach of the softball program, is going to be trying to win a state championship here with two different Center County programs. And, of course, he also coached football down at Penns Valley, but he was led Penns Valley to its first team championship in any sport in softball. And I think it's still one of only two, if I'm not mistaken.
So he coached football also.
Yeah.
He's a regular Hugo Bezdek.
I am telling you, Don Lucas is a remarkable coach, remarkable person, remarkable coach. But, yeah, that'd be pretty amazing to take two different Center County schools to state championships.
I mean, that would be unbelievable.
It really
crazy.
Would. And so, and I tell you, Sierra
really,
Albright,
when you think about any sport, any level, being able to coach two different programs to a championship, I mean, you just don't see it very often at all, like anywhere.
No.
That's very, very hard to do.
And especially, I mean, it's hard, period, but especially in public schools. And I'm not trying to start public school, private school debate. I'm really not.
Now we all know what's up, Iron. It's all good.
But I mean, honestly, they are doing it just with homegrown. I mean, it wasn't like Penns Valley had people flocking in. I got to be part of this softball program, or Bald Eagle Area. As good as the softball program was that Don built. I mean, it was homegrown talent, and obviously the same deal here at Bald Eagle Area. And so, yes, to do that, I think is truly spectacular. Now, Bald Eagle area has a great history here in both baseball and softball as well. But softball, Center County softball has been fantastic over the last, probably at least 25 years or so.
For sure.
And so we'll see. Also, the State College boys lacrosse team, again, is in first round playoff action today. If State High wins this afternoon, they will play on Saturday in the quarterfinals in the lacrosse tournament. And that team, there's a lot of really good lacrosse teams, so they could get ousted in the first round, but they also, if they get hot, there's not a lot of separation. I know they lost a couple games down the stretch, but those are games that could go either way. And, they finished fourth in the district tournament. We could turn right around and end up winning the whole thing here. They have a lot of really good talent on that team and a lot of young talent that they will be good for the next couple of years here.
Why not us?
At least.
Let's go Lions.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, Ned, I want to get your opinion on something.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it a little bit when you talk about the noon kickoff against Bowling Green. By the way, do you know the small piece of curious Penn State football trivia that has to do with us playing Bowling Green?
Hit me.
Bowling Green was the opponent for Joe Paterno's 200th and 300th career win, which is like we haven't played Bowling Green all that much, and the fact that math would work out, to me, I always thought was just, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a curious little piece of trivia.
It's bizarre. And
I'm not. Don't quote me on this part. I'm not 100% sure, but if Penn State wins the West Virginia game, which we certainly hope they do, I think that'll be win number 90 at Penn State for James Franklin against Bowling Green. So not quite to 100, but a nice round number for James. It gets him close. But I'm not 100% sure about that. Actually, now that I think about it, he might be a few more wins away from 90. But anyway, so they announced yesterday that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say they announced. Brett McMurphy from Action Network HQ reported that the preferred matchups for NBC's primetime game are on November 2nd, which happens to be Penn State, Ohio State. They would prefer to have, USC, Washington. And they would also prefer to have the homecoming game for Penn State, which is against Illinois, be the 7:30 kickoff. So, look, what they would prefer to have happen and what actually happens, there's a little bit of daylight in between them. But usually when this stuff gets reported, that means that it's pretty much in the cards. So that makes Ohio State, Penn State look a lot more likely as a big nooner.
Yeah, I have a couple of on the surface, that just does not make. I did see that, and I don't doubt it. But it just does not make sense to me. Am I wrong? Like Penn State, Ohio State is, even if, first of all, I think that's going to be a better matchup and a bigger game. I think that if you take the combined rankings of the two, I think at that time of the year, now. Things happen. Obviously, I could be wrong on this. I mean, this is
you think probably Ohio State will have lost 2 or 3 games by then,
at least. And
to be clear,
I don't think Washington.
They're not.
I'm not expecting Washington to be contending.
No,
for
I think
a Big Ten
I
title.
think they could actually.
I think Ohio State obviously is the prohibitive favorite, and I think Penn State. Almost all the projections I'm seeing are for a 10-win season. I mean, Ohio State being one of the 2 losses.
Yeah.
But again, most national experts seem to be pegging Penn State at 10-2 as kind of at least the over-under mark, maybe 11-1, maybe 9-3, but 10-2 again, looking like the comfortable home. USC is going to be one of the more interesting teams to watch this year. I mean, that storyline with Lincoln Riley and now Caleb Williams out and making the move to the Big Ten. I mean, I get that there's going to be interest, excuse me, in USC this season, but I just don't think going in, I don't think, first of all, the eyeballs that Ohio State brings no matter what, and the eyeballs that Penn State brings no matter what, versus the eyeballs Washington or USC. Now, if USC is contending for a title, yes, they're going to bring eyeballs to the set. But, I mean, Penn State and Ohio State, to me, on the surface, that just seems like such a more attractive, likely more attractive game by the time we get to November.
Yeah, so what this list implies is that NBC was not even given the option of selecting Penn State, Ohio State. And so that has then prompted this conversation. And, this was completely fortuitous timing on our part. I had recorded a segment for the Bloggy YouTube channel. For the Bloggy, search it on YouTube, please. These off-season videos, sometimes it's tough to get them up over, for 4 digits in views, and we're real close. Help me get that up there. But anyway, I did a little conversation with Jim Galante from Keystone about should the whiteout be the premier matchup of the season, even if it means taking away from the night game atmosphere and play and aligning with a big noon kickoff. And then this news came out like just as the video dropped. So it was all timely and it all fit in with this conversation that's now being had, that let's just for the moment assume that even though UCLA and Washington are out there as home opponents, that we don't know when those kickoff times are going to be scheduled. But let's presume for the moment that Ohio State, Penn State will be a big noon game, and that Illinois, Penn State will be the only true primetime kickoff on Penn State's schedule. Now, we're playing Washington later in the year, and as I always like to point out, if you've got a 3:30 kick from mid-October on, it's like a de facto night game anyway, because you're going to play the second half in darkness, and by the time you get into the middle of the second quarter, it's starting to feel like, like a dusk night game environment. So, you can play a game under the lights if it's kicking at 3:30 in the second half of the season anywhere in the Northeast. But let's say, just for argument's sake right now, you've only got 7:30 versus Illinois or noon versus Ohio State. In your opinion, is it more important to preserve the unique, kind of atmosphere and aesthetic of the whiteout at night, or do you take away from that because you want to match it up with the Ohio State game? What's your take on that?
So what makes the whiteout, and this is where I guess the debate is going to occur. But what makes the whiteout isn't that everybody's wearing white, right? Like, I mean, that's part of the equation. I understand. Like, I mean, that is technically what makes it the whiteout. I get it. But what makes it what it is, the experience that it is the excitement, the passion that is in the stands.
Mm-hmm. You don't think the Illini are going to elicit that sort of emotional response?
Here is the thing. So I think no matter who you're playing, having the whiteout at night gets people juiced.
Yes.
I think Ohio State, whether it's a whiteout game or not, you could play that game at 9 a.m. People are going to be juiced. Agreed. So there's an excitement level there either way, would be my argument. For me, and I don't presume to speak for anybody other than me, obviously, let's start with what everybody wants is the night game atmosphere against the big-time opponent.
Yes.
We get it. Like, that's what we all want. What the discussion is okay, you can't have that. Ohio State noon, Illinois night, which one do you go? For me, I would still rather, and I'm not going to like it to the degree that I want to like it, but to me, that night experience, having the lights, and part of it is, for me, and listen, this really is just me. So we're talking specifically here, like I still have, and I get everybody involved is long gone. I get it. I do. I don't care. I have a burning hatred, sports hatred. I'm not wishing anybody that exists there any harm.
Important distinction, of course.
Yes, I'm talking about, but I want to see Penn State pound Illinois, and I would love, and this goes, if you don't know what I'm getting at there, the whole, we're going to raid your campus, we're going to knock on every kid's door when, Penn State's players following the scandal were released, and one of the most idiotic decisions ever by the NCAA. Yep, you can go anywhere, and Illinois, more than any other school. There were other schools that did not do right, I think, by Penn State. But
they punished Penn State by making us live by 2024 rules in 2012. That's basically what they did.
Yes, true enough. And so, but Illinois went way over the top.
You sure did.
And hounded several of the Penn State student athletes, like knocking on their doors, ringing the phones nonstop.
There's a great video on the For the Bloggy YouTube channel about that too. So that's another good reason for y'all to go check them out.
Check out For the Bloggy, absolutely. So in part because of that, but more so like the
night. Yeah, I actually agree with you.
The night game is you need the lights, like the whiteout.
Yes.
You need the enthusiasm and the passion. But what makes it an optically pleasing to the non-Penn State viewer is the lights bouncing off of the white. Like that is what makes it a blinding,
100%.
really cool experience. You are losing that, in my opinion, completely if the entire game is daytime. Like if it's a late kickoff, like you said, I think you're still getting the optics there ultimately, and I'm okay with that.
But
if it's a noon kickoff,
come on.
I just don't think you can do. Now, if you want to have two whiteouts and fine. I mean, I don't care. Again, people are going to be excited for the Ohio State game. You're not going to get the wow factor from the whiteout part of it. Do I want a noisy stadium?
But you're not getting helmet stripe game now. Ironhead, when they want to do the fake whiteout, they're like, "Oh no, there's 100 people wearing blue.
Correct.
It's not a whiteout."
So let's do that for Ohio State.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And the point that I have seen made online, and I think it's valid, is they're kind of calling on Pat Kraft to say, "Hey, Pat, you got to book media interviews, go into meetings, pound the table, and say, go watch the commercial for the new EA Sports college football game. Look at every commercial that gets cut for college football TV coverage. Yeah. Anytime now anyone talks about the pageantry of college football, or they're trying to immediately evoke an emotional reaction in a quick cut up for their audience of what makes college football unique and distinct, there's a shot of the whiteout in there. And of course it's the whiteout under the lights. And in terms of traditions that have gone from not existing to belonging in that elite tier pantheon, like the whiteout is really the only one that's emerged in the 21st century. So in terms of defining our sport, this is one of the pillars holding it up, and our conference and its network partners need to get together and extend us the respect for having done that and provided you that arrow in your quiver when you were trying to market your entertainment product in the crowded marketplace, and not stick us with a decision between, do we put the whiteout under the noonday sun or do we put it on the Illinois game? And I think it's a very good point.
I will say,
not to put more on Pat's plate, I know he's got a lot going on.
I will say, if that is the choice, though, the other, and I don't expect Penn State would ever come out and say this, nor do I think they should. But if that is the two options, it's noon Ohio State night game versus Illinois, and you got to go with one of the two. The fact is, you want the whiteout moving forward to be perceived as intimidating.
Yep.
It is really tough to win in a whiteout. I'm here to tell you, if it is a whiteout for Illinois and that it's a night game, I'm already it is a win. Penn State, so overwhelmingly, like that game is a win. When you go to the ledger, whiteout record, that you chalk up another W. a noon kickoff against an Ohio State team that has more talent, I would argue, than anybody else in college football this season.
Hard to argue.
Do I think Penn State can win that? I do. I think that they could win it. It's not certainly a guaranteed W. I think it is even an unlikely W, at least as we sit here right now. I consider that an unlikely W. Well, would you rather get a win or a loss in your whiteout record? I'll take the win factor.
There's that factor too, for sure.
Again, I don't think that should be a driving force, but if it's coming down to those are the two options, let's go ahead and take the W, take the visual of the whiteout, and then try to knock off Ohio State anyway in the noon kickoff. But yeah, you shouldn't be forced to have to make those choices. Whiteout should be night game against the best home opponent you have on the schedule as consistently as you can. That is going to wrap things up for today. Again, no show on Thursday. We have high school PIAA playoff action in baseball, Bald Eagle area in Monteau, and that game will start at 2:30 on our local station, Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. So we're just going to take Thursday off, and we'll be back a week from today with another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. Until then, I don't want to do that. Be good and be
Coast
safe.
into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Your hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen O'Haw-Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen O'Haw-Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen O'Haw-Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon